let's see what is the 3 weeks exam window. So remember that once you register with API, you need to select one of the windows within the current year or next year. Say for year 2023, we put the date. So you have to choose one of these windows that you wish to attend. So once you choose that window is frozen for you. So what does that mean? You cannot change that window. It's as good as failing, because if you want to reschedule that window, that means you have to pay $300. If you fail the exam, that means you need to pay $300 and reschedule. So be careful when you are choosing the window. So that window is frozen, and you cannot attend any other window unless you reschedule, which is as good as failing, as we say. The application deadline is around 2.5 months, and it's already in API ICP when you go to fee and schedules. And so you need to get your email authorization before that, and once you get your email authorization, immediately go and book a slot with Prometric, who is subcontracted by API. They have around centers in 160 countries. They have over 3,000 centers across the globe. So we strongly suggest that as soon as you get your email authorization, book your slot, because that's first come, first served basis. So we also recommend that you roughly do it actually 4 months before your scheduled exam. For example, do not choose the next immediate test window, but the one that is, say, 4 months away. So you have enough time to study and enough time to get your email authorization, so that you can book a slot with Prometric. This is especially important for API 510, 570, and 653 exam, because being a day-long exam, for non-core exam, normally you can find the other examination. You can normally find a convenient test location. In the test center and exam date, as we said, there are 160 countries that Prometric has centers, over 3,000 centers. They all operate on first come, first served basis. They don't only have a contract with API, but with many other organizations. So if you go to the test center, you see a lot of people there from different disciplines, not only API. So it's first come, first served. So therefore, as soon as you receive your email authorization, please book a slot for yourself. So remember that now you can do it remote. So it doesn't mean which test center is it, as long as it's remote. You can do it from the comfort of your office, your home. And also you can change the test center, say up to 1 month before the exam, free of charge, but between 5 to 29 days, you have to pay $70 to Prometric to change the test center or the time slot. Okay, let's see what are the time limits for passing the exam. So you have 12 consecutive months, so 1 year from the first time you did your initial exam, or 4 consecutive times. So that means 4 consecutive times you can attend the exam and pay that, say, the $300 rescheduling fees, or 1 year, whichever is earlier, which is same thing. If you do not pass within a year, then you have to submit a fresh application, pay the full fee, which is $940. Again, we recommend that you select the test center Prometric as soon as you receive API authorization, because one of our trainees, he got a authorization notice some 7 months before the selected test window, but he just waited till a month before or 2 months before the test window, the actual exam, and tried to book a center. He couldn't book anything close to his place of residence, so he had to fly another country, because otherwise he had to wait another 6 months and pay their scheduling fee. Uh, so it's very important that as soon as you receive email authorization, you book your test center and be there at the exam at least, or if you're doing prometric, be there, sit behind your laptop half an hour before your exam schedule. And because a day-long exam, it starts at 8:30 normally at your local time, it's always better to reach there like half an hour earlier. If you try to you be late by 15 minutes, more than 15 minutes, they might refuse you. So that means no show, and you have to again reschedule, pay the rescheduling fee $300, and do it say 5-6 months later. Photo ID and security check. So once either remote or in person, you should have a valid government issued and expired original government issued photo ID, and it should be a photo like a passport or driving license, and it should be valid. One of our candidates, he went there with expired driving license, so they asked him for a valid one. By the time he went and brought his valid passport, it was half an hour late passed, and then they refused him entry. So he had to attend the exam 6 months later and pay the reschedule fee. So it's just not worth it. Make sure that it's a photo ID is government issued, like a license, like a military ID or a passport, and it's valid. Make sure it's absolutely is valid. And as a plan B, or try to have a second one as well. So have both your driving license and passport, and it should be Latin also. Make sure if it is in any other language, they will not accept it. So before you sit for the exam, they will check your government issued photo ID, valid one, ask you to sign in, check you with a metal detector, ask you to turn up your sleeves, check your pockets, look at your reading glass to see there is no recording device on it, ask you some security question, date of birth, email address. You cannot carry anything with you inside the examination room except a bottle of water. No ornaments allowed except a wedding ring, and they will supply you with a pocket calculator and then 4 green size A4 size papers and a pencil. And then you start with the tutorial. Okay, now let's see what will happen in tutorial. There is a link here that takes you to tutorial, so tells you what you will see in the actual exam. The tutorial actually tells you how the system works, how the buttons work, what are these icons means, what you can do, and that sort of thing. It's actually a replica of the tutorial you'll see in the exam if you click this button. This takes around 10 minutes, or if you end it earlier. Okay, so it's always better to look at this link, and you're more at ease during the exam. So you know beforehand how this system works. We'll also explain it in our other videos. These icons are very simple and user-friendly. So there's important things there. You can flag off the question you don't want it. You can right-click, put the mouse on point the mouse at the answer and right-click it. That will strike it up, so you can concentrate on other questions that you think are right. You can also see your time remaining, and at the top corner, top left or right, left-hand corner, and the number of questions attempted, and you can also jump from question to question, and you can review all question, review all button, or review all flagged off question. So this is 10 minutes. So if you don't start after 10 minutes, the exam automatically starts. And the minute it starts, the clock starts running. There's no negative marking, roughly 70%. So they do the scoring based on a scale of 400 minimum, 500 maximum. And so they want to have standard level of difficulty for all exam windows, but to put in a simple language, it's you need to answer 70% of question correctly. At the end, again, click all review all button, and then see that you have answered all the question. Anything that you haven't answered, it has a different color, or you can review the incomplete question. And as I said, there is no negative marking, so make absolutely sure that you answer all the question, even if you have no clue. Okay, let's see what is the API 510 exam sequence. So you got two parts, closed and open book. First, you would answer the closed book part, 2 hours 45 minutes, 110 question, and after that, you have a maximum 45 minutes break when you leave the building, and you can also use the locker at this period. After the break, you would start the second part, and there are 60 questions, 3 hours 45 minutes, and there would be reference documents in PDF format. On your computer screen with search buttons disabled, so you need to know how to navigate through these documents. Okay, you can search them. The 45-minute break, exam break between closed and open book. Before you attend the exam, they will provide the key to a locker. If you are doing the remote exam, then you have to turn the computer around, the laptop around, so to make sure that the invigilator who is watching you during the exam, that there is nothing on your table, and there would be same security and everything else, and you cannot leave the room, or nobody can enter the room without, absolutely nobody can enter the room during the exam, and you cannot leave the room without the invigilator's permission, if you want to use a toilet or for anything else. During the 45-minute break, you're allowed to leave, use your locker, but make sure that you come back around, say, 5 minutes before your 45 minutes break is up, because the minute the 45 minutes is spent, then the second part or the open book part would start, regardless whether you have reported to the test center or you are behind the laptop or your computer or not. So it's actually coming off your time. So it automatically starts. Or if you come earlier than 45 minutes, then you can start it earlier by clicking starting the second, the open book exam part. So one of our candidates for 570, he left for lunch, and then apparently he get lost. So by the time he came, he was half an hour late. So that half an hour came from his allocated time of 3 hours 45 minutes. So he had only 3 hours 15 minutes to answer the 60 questions. So make sure that you're at your desk, because the exam, the clock starts ticking the minute the 45 minutes break is up. Let's have some tips on time management during the exam. Remember that if you need to leave the examination room, say for using the toilet or filling up your water bottle or drinking water or for any other reason, you have to report to the security outside the examination room, sign out. On return, you shall go through the same initial security check and sign in. So all this time, the clock is running. Okay, if you are leaving any comment on the any questions, you're going out for any reason, the minute the clock starts ticking, it will not pause for you to use the toilet or anything. And then, or you end the exam button, you press it, that's when the time is up. So before you end the exam button, if you want to end it earlier, which we do not recommend, use your maximum allocated time. Say, for example, press review all button, or flagged off review all flagged off question, and go to all over again, and just make sure that you answered all the question, and you have you shouldn't be too fast, because you might lose the track of what's going on and the actual question asking you, and you might choose the wrong answer. Okay, again, a repeat of what are the number of questions: 170 question, 140 are scored, 30 pre-scored question. That does not affect your score, but because they are shuffled together and they are not marked, so you have to answer all the 170 questions. And we have told you the reason is that these are new questions that the API wants to test as an experimental question to see that they are actually be answered by sufficient number of people. They are not too difficult, or they are not too easy, or they are not being challenged by candidates, and then they become part of a scored question on a question data bank. So as soon as you finish your exam results, okay, as soon as you finish your exam, you receive an email on from API, and it will tell you immediately whether you have a preliminary pass, a preliminary marginal, or preliminary not pass. So the pass means most probably you pass. The not pass means most probably you fail, and the marginal means it's just too close to call. The reason is that API do a scaling, and you might be anything between 69% to 71%. On average, you need to answer 70% of questions right. Yeah, but if the exam was slightly difficult, they will adjust the scores, and so it might be just 1% up or down the 70% bar mark. So if you fail, you have to wait for the final score, and after see the final score, then still if you fail, then you have to reschedule and pay the $300 fee. And normally you receive again an email authorization from API. This time they don't need the references. So as soon as you pay and reschedule, you receive the email authorization, then you book with Prometrics Center as soon as possible. So API 510 certification, recertification, and cost. So initial certification $940, and after 3 years you need to apply again for recertification, and you should have 20% of the time you should have worked as an API 510 inspector, and the recertification cost is $730. You can apply up to 90 days before your certification expires, and a 90-day grace period after that, subject to a late fee of $150. But after 90 days of your certification expiry date, still you have not applied, that means that you have to submit a fresh application, pay the full fees of $940, and attend the exam all over again. But within 90 days grace time, you can pay a late fee of $150 and still get recertified. Every 6 years, API asks you to do a quiz on top of the recertification document, and 25 questions. You can finish it up to 4 hours. You have time to complete the quiz. It's an online one, and you can interrupt it up to 3 times. If you fail the quiz once, you can do it again. Second time, if you fail again, then you need to again submit a fresh application and do the full exam in this case. Okay, let's see what are the publication effective sheet and body of knowledge. So if you go to API ICP website, and you see 2 documents named publication effective sheet, which actually tells you which documents you have to study from which revision, and the body of knowledge, which again says the list of documents without revision, but asks you, give you example of which section you have to study, what you actually expect to know. So anything comes in body of knowledge actually should be read twice, and that's what we have incorporated in our e-learning. Anything you see on publication effects sheet in red color, that means that's a new document or a new revision has been added compared to the last exam window. And we always follow the latest publication effective sheet and body of knowledge for your information. Okay, another area to see what are the highest scoring areas is that area of examination scores. As you can see in these tables, and your score should be something like this. So on scope and general application of 510, you will have 5 questions, damage mechanism 15, repair 15, ND, which is ASME section 5, 15, and welding ASME section 9, and API 577 is 15. Design ASME section 8, construction code is 10. As you see, there are not many questions coming from construction code. Planning, that's very important, that's 20. That comes from 510, 572. Inspection and testing practices, again 572 is 15. And damage mechanism, as you know, is 571, 15. And repair also comes for a combination of PCC2, 510, 572, it is 15. And then you have inspection and testing practices, again 572, pressure relief devices, 576, 4. Data evaluation, that's a combination of like mostly 510, 20 question comes, and roles and responsibilities, again from 510, 6 question, and a total score of 140, which on a scale it will be 500. So you have to answer 70% of them right. Let's go to exam tips and just give you a few tips here. So thickness calculation, look, API never answer like 0.0075 and 0.007, or the possible answer are not very close to each other. So they don't want to trick you to if you can round it off or not. So the possible answer would be wide apart. So for example, if you did a calculation, you get 0.0075, is simply 0.007, just round it off, just drop it. Or if it is, say, the pressure you have calculated to be 239.3 psi, it's actually, you can always use 239 and compare the result, the possible answer, and choose the right one. They would not be 240 or 238, other possible answer. They would be wide apart. So the answer you calculated, if it's right, it will be very close or almost same as the right answer. The other one would be, be careful if you are asking you for the data input is in British units or in metric ISO units. So sometimes the data given in inches or foot, and the choice is in millimeter or meter. So be careful which one when you are converting this. API never uses the type of answer like all of the above, both A and B, or B and C, or none of the above. This answer, there's just one answer that they will ask you to choose. Use common sense. It's most likely that the answer is a very simple question. A lot of questions derived from basics, definitions, meaning, scope, exclusion. Remember that API has 4 levels of expertise. Trainee, unsupervised inspector, master, and expert. So you being checked according to the level 2, which is you should know the very basics. So it's very important that you understand the terms, definitions, vocabulary, the concepts, etc. Sitting for exam can be, because it's a long day, can be very stressful. Have enough sleep. You need a lot of energy to endure the day-long exam. So don't cram up the night before. Have a good sleep, more nutrition, hydrated, and let your brain rest so you are full of energy for the exam. During exam, you can eliminate the obvious wrong answers. So you can work the power of deduction in case you're not sure about the right answer. So hold on the most which you think is absolutely wrong. and right click and strike them off, so you can concentrate on possible right answers and choose the best answer. Our mock exam question, please solve them, go to the reference documents, start frequenting them, actually seeing them with your own eyes. Where is it? Because during the exam, you need to know how to navigate through the documents, and unless you don't practice it, you won't get the hack of it. Okay, so even if it's a simple mathematical calculation, please solve it. Most of the question actually try to verify your comprehension of principles and theory, so don't just memorize things. Normally it doesn't work. Don't memorize numbers, formulas. They're already in the open book, and they don't expect you to know that. If you know, it's fine, but you don't need to know that. So try to concentrate on the concepts and knowledge. So some question might be irrelevant data they have given you. They don't want to confuse you, because in actual scenario, API wants to verify that whether you can understand between or differentiate between relevant and non-relevant question data in order to solve the equation or get the answer right. So simply go and find the formula, see what is given and what is wanted, and just use those information that is necessary to solve the question, and ignore the rest. Pay particular attention to table, charts, figures, footnotes. We shall explain all this. And during the open book examination, if you can't find the topic, look at the table of content, or if you can't find it there, look at the list of figures or list of tables. It's high probability that you will find it there, the right page to go to. If you still can't find them within a minute or so, just flag it off, jump to the next question. Don't waste your time. There is a high chance of encountering that topic that you're looking for when you're actually looking for something else in other questions. So just make a note of that question and go to next question. And at the end, you can always come back if you still couldn't find the answer. Okay, so that is that to have a better time management, that you know shorter time. Thank you for listening. This is end of module 1.